Many unexplained supernatural events happen every year that baffle us. Whether it's the legendary Bigfoot, the latest UFO sighting, or a ghost caught on tape that we cannot explain. Some of the following stories were found out to be hoaxes created by people who wanted their 50 minutes of fame. However, some of the stories have yet to be disproved. It just goes to show that it does not pay to be too gullible while searching the paranormal and the unexplained, but at the same time, do not be too cynical either. These are 10 most famous paranormal hoaxes in history that fooled us, and some that could not be explained. What do you think? Number 10. The Prediction of Tomori. Psychics are often criticised for never accurately predicting the future and foreseeing bad events, and giving warnings for incidents like natural disasters or killings. In 1981, after the assassination attempt of President Ronald Reagan, a psychic named Tomori came forward and stated that several months earlier she had predicted the shooting on a TV show which had been recorded. Her prediction was strangely accurate. She predicted that the shooter was a fair-haired young man with the initials JH, and that he would shoot Reagan in late March of 1981. The shooter turned out to be the fair-haired John Hinckley Jr., aged 25, who shot Reagan on March 30th, 1981. This startling footage of her prediction aired on CNN, NBC and ABC with newspaper headlines declaring that Tomori was a psychic who eerily foresaw Reagan's brush with death. However, soon after the footage was released, studio technicians at KTNV were outraged and immediately told their boss, KTNV General Manager Ed Quinn, that they recognised the footage being aired as a scene they had taped on March 31st, the day after the assassination attempt. They remembered that on the day of the alleged recording, January the 6th, Rand wasn't even in the studio as she was claiming. Instead, she was being interviewed by Morris on January the 20th on a show with several other psychics. Morris had asked her about Reagan, but her response didn't include any details about the possibility of him being shot. Tomori's story was quickly found to be a hoax, ending her career as a psychic. Number 9. Mumler's spirit photography business. In 1861, William Mumler worked as a jewellery engraver in Boston who dabbled in photography. One day after taking a self-portrait, he noticed a shadowy figure of a young girl floating above him in the photo, which turned out to be a trace of an earlier negative made with the same plate. However, after Mumler's friend told him the girl reminded him of his dead cousin, Mumler took advantage of this newly discovered photo effect and decided to start his own spirit photography business. Grief-stricken clients who had lost relatives during the Civil War would pay him for his photographs showing them with their dead relatives hovering above them as ghosts. William Mumler became extremely wealthy. However, some members of the spiritual community accused him of fraud, alleging that the spirits in his photo resembled people who were not only still alive, but had sat for him recently. One of his most famous clients, Abraham Lincoln's widow Mary Todd Lincoln, showed up at his studio. Her photograph shows her being embraced by the spirit of her dead husband. 8 years later, after Mumler had moved to New York City, an undercover agent exposed him, and Mumler was arrested for charges of fraud by the police department. The police proved he had created the spirit photo effect through the use of double exposure. However, Mumler was acquitted. Years later, Mumler's photography business began to decline, and he died penniless in 1884, and that his photographs were nothing but a hoax created by a double exposure effect. Number 8. The Fiji Mermaid. In 1822, American sea captain Samuel Barrett Eads bought Barnum's Mermaid from Japanese sailors and had it on display through several outlets. The founder of Barnum and Bailey Circus, P.T. Barnum, apparently rented the Fiji Mermaid skeleton for $12.50 a week, which was a lot of money back then. It was believed that the origin of the mermaid was found off the coast of Fiji. Barnum believed the mermaid was 100% authentic. A naturalist told him it was nothing but the head of a monkey attached to the body of a fish, and the mermaid was later debunked. However, Barnum was still keen to showcase the mermaid after preparing and advertising the piece. Instead, he hired a phony naturalist to vouch for his story, claiming the mermaid was authentic. Barnum fooled millions of spectators. No one really knows what happened to the Fiji Mermaid, since Barnum's museum caught fire multiple times and people say it was destroyed along with other countless artefacts. The Harvard University's Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology has a similar mermaid called the ManWoman, said to highly resemble the Fiji Mermaid. Number 7. The Highgate Vampire. Back in the 1970s, cemeteries were a major target of vandalism. One cold Christmas Eve night, a group of youths decided to break into Highgate Cemetery in London, and one of them decided to sleep in the cemetery. The following day he went to newspaper outlets claiming he had seen a greyish, tall dark figure of a man who was stalking him around the cemetery, and even put him in a trance. Millions of people became drawn to his story and the phenomenon. Soon after, witnesses claimed to have seen the same figure roam near the gates of the cemetery at night, along with a woman with super white skin and long grey hair. Some people still believe there's a ghostly figure roaming Highgate. So if you're ever in England, don't forget to visit the cemetery and let us know if you get stalked by this ghostly entity. Number 6. The Well to Hell. A team of Russian engineers drilled a hole in an unknown part of Siberia. The hole, according to the engineers, was deeper than what they had expected and seemed to reach temperatures of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 1090 centigrade deep within the hole. The team started hearing strange sounds, so they decided to send down a heat-tolerant microphone along with other sensory equipment into the well. When they brought the equipment back up, the crew was shocked by what they heard in the recordings. They claimed to hear screams of agony and what sounded like people being tortured. The story of the discovery hit the news and made major headlines. It even caused spiritual organisations to pray and preach. But everything came to an end when they realised that the actual recording was nothing but fake. They did, in fact, drill a hole, but no screams of agony ever came out of the hole. In actuality, it was a recording of the 1972 movie Barren Blood in a time loop. Number 5. Teleporting Man-Woman. CCTV camera caught an unusual scene 4 years ago in China. The footage shows a man-woman saving a man riding a bike through an intersection right before he was about to get hit by a delivery truck. Why would this be strange, you ask? Well, this all happened in a matter of a few seconds. Basically, the superhuman goes from one side of the screen to the other in a flash, then just as quickly as it appeared, it disappears, leaving the man behind safe and sound. Some people thought this was an angel in disguise, while others claimed to have witnessed teleportation. Check out the video. What do you think? Number 4. The Cottingley Fairies. In 1917, two young girls, Frances Griffiths, aged 12, and her cousin Elsie Wright, aged 16, claimed to interact and play with real-life fairies and gnomes in Cottingley, West Yorkshire, England. The girls produced 5 photographs to prove the existence of the fairies, while stating that gnomes didn't like to be photographed. They dressed the fairies in Paris fashion gowns and green, mauve and pink transparent wings. The photographs became an enormous sensation thanks to the writer of Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, backing up their claim. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was a huge believer in the spiritual world and fell for their scam, and even wrote a book about it titled The Coming of the Fairies in 1922. Years later, he found out it was a hoax and became the laughingstock of the press. Doyle couldn't fathom how two young girls could fabricate such a scheme. However, until his death, he still believed that the fairies and gnomes existed. Many years later, the two girls, now adults, claimed they created the hoax to get back at adults for laughing at them, but didn't admit this to Doyle to avoid embarrassment. Number 3. Ghostwatch. In 1992, a documentary titled Ghostwatch premiered on the BBC for Halloween. Now known to be a mockumentary, they show featured BBC reporters performing a live investigation of a house that was inhabited by a poltergeist in Northolt, Greater London. This show was the first of its kind before movies like The Blair Witch Project. The reporters interviewed neighbours and the family that lived there and investigated the home whilst trying to make contact. They eventually stumbled across a malevolent spirit that goes by the name of Pipes because it made clanging noises. After claiming that the home belonged to the ghost of a 19th century child killer, violent attacks of the host and crew started occurring. The whole show turned out to be a hoax. It was later revealed that the show had been filmed on the set of locations weeks in advance with special effects added in. Thinking it was real, the BBC switchboard received an estimated 30,000 calls in a single hour of terrified viewers. Number 2. The Fox Sisters. In the 1800s, it was believed that the Fox Sisters started the spiritualism craze when they believed they could communicate with the dead through a series of rappings. The Fox Sisters were only in their teens when they claimed to communicate with the dead by tapping out messages on the table. They soon became a sensation and started touring around the world. Eventually, their seances grew more elaborate, with objects moving, strange noises being heard around the house, tables flying, and even the spirit of Ben Franklin joining them. The sisters had made the tapping noises by snapping their fingers. They even developed an elaborate code so the girls could signify yes or no in response to a question, or to be used to indicate a letter of the alphabet. When we went to bed at night, we used to tie an apple to a string and move the string up and down, causing the apple to bump on the floor. Or we would drop the apple on the floor, making a strange noise every time it would rebound. Mother listened to this for a time, and she would not understand it, and did not suspect us as being capable of a trick, because we were so young. However, their fame and fortune ended when they became alcoholics, and the two sisters started scheming against each other. Their careers came to an end in 1888 when Maggie and Katie decided to go public with their hoax, which made many of their believers furious. Strangely enough, many years later a buried body was discovered, which one of the sisters had previously claimed was a murder. Maybe over the years the sisters were tired of their ability, which had obviously taken a toll on their health, and claimed it was a hoax to find peace in their lives. Number 1. The Fresno Night Crawlers. One night in Fresno, California, a couple had reported finding several things out of place in their driveway and decided to install a security camera system in order to see what was happening. They later found something unexplainable on the security footage, and they decided to call upon a mutual friend, a paranormal enthusiast, to assist them with their discovery. The tapes revealed two humanoid figures walking across their driveway. The footage was posted in the YouTube channel Para Breakdown, where its video analyst and debunker, Phil Poling, claimed this could easily be a hoax. However, the couple still claims that the video is 100% real. More disturbingly, there are people out there claiming to have encountered these strange beings. What do you think? Could this footage be real, or is it just an elaborate hoax?